Hey there, welcome in. Wherever you are, whether you're winding down from a long day or just needing a little peace and quiet, you've made it to the right place. Breathe easy and get comfortable, for this time is your time and yours alone. Let the soft noise of the world drift out of reach as you feel your body slowly sink into a deep drowsiness. Today, I will be discussing the world-famous Waverly Hills Sanatorium, the death place of over 60,000 mental asylum patients. Some say Waverly Hills Sanatorium is one of the most haunted places on Earth. However, before we begin, I would love to know what time it is for you and where you're relaxing from. It's always so interesting to see who's joining from all around the world. And now, dim the lights, sink deeper and deeper into comfort, and join me as I ramble on about this haunted sanatorium. Near the edge of Louisville, Kentucky, on a low rise of earth softened by trees, there is a long brick building that stretches across the hill like a memory. Its windows face the thick woods below. Its roofline leans gently with time. The air around it carries no sound but the occasional breath of wind through tall grass. This place is known as Waverly Hills Sanatorium. The building was never meant to be frightening. It was built in 1910, first as a small wooden structure. It was quiet. It was built to help. But that time did not last long. Tuberculosis had swept across the country, and Kentucky was no exception. People coughed into handkerchiefs and looked away from crowds. The disease moved slowly through communities, leaving weakness behind. And the small wooden facility on the hill could not hold all who needed care. So they built something larger. In 1926, a 5-story brick sanatorium opened. It held hundreds of patients. The windows were left open often. Fresh air was thought to be healing. The halls were long and wide. Nurses walked them softly. The rooms were filled with quiet waiting. The treatments were limited. There were no real cures. Doctors did what they could. Some removed parts of lungs. Others collapsed chests to let tissue rest. These practices were done with care but brought little comfort. Many patients never left the hill. Many passed quietly in their beds. The building began to carry their weight. The most common number shared is over 63,000 deaths. Some believe this is too high. Others believe it is close. What is known is that many lives ended there. And those lives, some say, never fully left. Visitors today often speak of a feeling as they enter. Not a sharp fear, just a slow heaviness, like stepping into a thick memory. The air inside does not feel cold, but it is not warm either. Sit still. It listens. Footsteps echo longer than expected. Voices carry just a little too far. Some say it feels like the building is not empty, only asleep. One of the first areas that draws attention is the first floor, once home to offices, kitchens, and administrative rooms. This floor seems calm. Light filters through old window panes and rests in soft patches on the floor. But even here, something feels slightly uneven. People have heard quiet footsteps, following their own, even when the hallway is still. Others speak of faint humming, like someone working just out of sight. There are cold patches, small and oddly shaped, that move slowly. They drift across the arms. They move across the neck. One guest described a feeling like a hand placed gently at the center of their back. Not firm, just there. Further into the building, where treatment areas and patient rooms once stood, the energy shifts. The air feels heavier, not thick but close. The halls stretch long, and the light grows dim. One of the most well-known areas is room 502, near the top of the building. It is quiet there. The doorway leans slightly, and the wind sometimes moves through the frame. This room has been spoken of for decades. In the 1920s, a nurse was found there, hanging by a wire from a pipe above. She had been young, her reasons unclear. Another nurse, it is said, jumped from the same window years later. Some say she was pregnant and alone. Some say she had seen too much. The records are thin, but the room remains, and the air there feels different. Visitors who enter room 502 often describe dizziness, a light pressure at the temples, a prickling warmth at the base of the skull. One guest stood still in the center of the room and felt as if someone were brushing past them, moving around in a slow circle. Others have heard soft crying. One woman said she heard her own name, spoken low and wrong, like a whisper being pulled underwater. Some leave the room quickly. Some stay longer than they mean to and leave feeling lost for a while. Outside room 502, the hallway is long and quiet. The floor creaks gently. Sometimes it creaks without a foot on it. There are shadow figures seen often here. Not detailed, not close. They move at the edges. Some are described as tall and thin, others small, like children. They stand in doorways and slip behind walls. Some peek around corners and vanish when watched. One man said he saw a figure at the far end of the hall, standing still. He walked slowly toward it. The figure turned and walked through a wall. Another group, using motion detectors, picked up activity in the hallway over and over again. No one was there. No air moved. No doors opened. But the sensors lit up again and again in a slow rhythm, as if someone were pacing. Further down, near the service area, lies what is known as the body chute. Officially, it was a tunnel designed to move supplies and allow access during bad weather. But during the height of the tuberculosis crisis, it was used to carry bodies away from the main building without upsetting the living patients. The tunnel slopes downward. It is narrow and dark, with concrete walls that hold the cold long after the sun is up. The path runs deep beneath the building, and the air inside feels thick with stillness. Visitors who walk the tunnel say they feel watched. Some describe being followed, though no one walks behind them. Others say they hear the sound of wheels, like a gurney rolling over stone. A few have reported low moans, coming from the darkness ahead. One guide reported hearing breathing behind her, soft and uneven. When she turned, no one was near. She continued walking, and the sound returned, closer. She did not finish the tour that night. Beyond the tunnel, on the second and third floors, are patient rooms that once held families. These floors are more open, more windows, more air, but not more peace. Many people report seeing a young boy on these floors. He is known as Timmy. He is said to have passed away at a young age, perhaps around 6 or 7. He liked to play with a ball. Visitors often bring toys or rubber balls for him, and many have seen them move on their own. The balls roll gently, sometimes in slow arcs across the hallway. Other times they move suddenly, as if kicked. Some try to speak to him, and they say the room grows warmer for a moment, then cool again. One woman left a flashlight on the floor and asked if Timmy could turn it on. The light flickered once. She asked again, and it turned off. She left it there and walked away. Later, she found it across the room, lying face down. Timmy is not frightening. People say he feels like a memory, like something left behind, waiting quietly in the space he knew. Above the lower levels of Waverly Hills, where offices and patient rooms once breathed quietly through long days, the building stretches upward into what was once thought to be the most peaceful place on the hill. The fourth and fifth floors offered open-air porches and wide halls filled with light. Fresh air was believed to be a remedy. The wind rolled in gently from the trees, brushing past white beds and quiet children. But time changed the tone of those rooms. Now the windows remain open to the sky. Vines have reached into the cracks. The walls hold warmth in some places, and deep cold in others. Light pools on the floor, but doesn't seem to touch the walls, and something waits there. On the fourth floor, visitors have spoken of a strange kind of silence. Not just the absence of sound, but a stillness that feels awake. The hallway stretches far in both directions, and the rooms are bare. Some people say they feel lightheaded as soon as they step in. Others describe a soft ringing in their ears, as though a frequency only part of them can hear. There are accounts of doors creaking open slowly, though the air is still. A few visitors have felt a tug on their clothing, gentle and low, like a hand brushing past them. One woman said she felt her scarf twist on its own, pulling lightly against her shoulder. Some groups have seen faint lights, not electrical, but small and moving, as if someone were holding a candle down the hall. When followed, the light disappears into the wall. The fifth floor is perhaps the most spoken about. This level once held patients with more delicate mental needs. Some say it was used for quarantine. Others claim it was a place to calm the restless. Room numbers here are mostly gone, but room 502 still draws people to its frame. Even when unoccupied, this room feels full. People have heard soft weeping from the far corner. Some say the temperature drops only near the floor, as if something were sitting there. Visitors who stay for more than a few minutes often report a pressure behind the eyes. One man said it felt like someone was gently trying to enter his thoughts, not to harm, but to listen. There are reports of shadows on the ceiling, moving without a source. Others have seen what looks like a nurse standing in the hallway, her back turned. She does not move. She does not speak. But the space around her becomes noticeably colder. When approached, she fades into the doorway. And then there is the creeper. This entity is unlike others. It has been seen by many, and yet it is never described the same way. Some say it moves low, crawling across the walls. Others see it high on the ceiling, stretching from one corner to the next. The shape is not clear, thin, slender, wrong. Its presence brings a deep sense of dread, heavier than fear. One visitor said the creeper moved like smoke, but heavier, dragging its form across surfaces that should not hold it. Another saw it watching from a doorway, where it pressed itself upward toward the ceiling and then melted into shadow. It never runs. It never chases. It only follows slowly. People who have encountered the creeper often feel ill afterward. Headaches, shaking hands, nightmares that are vague but unpleasant. It does not speak, but it is remembered. In quieter places, other presences are felt. The kitchen on the lower floor no longer holds warmth, but people have smelled fresh bread, even though the ovens have been cold for years. Some have heard the clatter of utensils, soft and rhythmic, like someone preparing for a meal. In the old children's ward, Visitors have brought toys. Some of the toys move gently even in still air. Balls roll. Dolls turn. One camera left overnight captured the slow turning of a small wooden car, which shifted once, paused, then turned again. A woman seated in the corner felt a hand in hers. It was small. It rested for a moment. Then it was gone. In the main hallway, stretching the full length of the building, footsteps are often heard. They are not rushed. They are steady and quiet, like someone walking toward something they have known for a long time. These footsteps echo slightly longer than they should. Sometimes they match your own. Other times they pause, then continue. A man standing still heard a second set begin behind him, only to stop when he turned. Some believe the building echoes not only sound, but intention, as though it responds to emotion. Those who come in with doubt often leave confused. Those who come in quietly with respect hear more, feel more. In one reported experience, a small group stood together in the hallway. The lights were dim. The air was warm. One member whispered a question, something simple. They asked if anyone was there. The air changed. It grew cooler but not cold. The hallway stretched out around them, and from the far end, a figure stepped into view. Not fast, just 1 foot in front of the other, too far to see the face, close enough to know it was there. They stood still. The figure turned, and then it was gone. No doors had opened. No wind had moved. But the group all saw the same thing. There is a part of Waverly Hills that does not rise into the trees. It does not catch the wind or glow in the morning light. It waits quietly under the building, away from the rooms and walkways above. This place is called the Body Chute, though some prefer the name Death Tunnel. It is a long, sloping passageway that leads from the main structure down through the hill and out to a side road. During the years of illness, it was used to carry the dead away gently, out of view. The patients above were already frightened. The nurses did not want them to see so many covered forms. The tunnel was a kindness, but it was also a necessity. The tunnel is long, made of cool, unpainted stone. There are metal tracks set into the ground from the days when carts were used. Today, the air inside is motionless. The walls drip softly with water. Light doesn't travel far here. You need to bring your own. Visitors describe the tunnel as the quietest part of the building, but not the most peaceful. As you walk downward, the air thickens, not with moisture, but with presence. Something slow, something waiting. Many describe a feeling of being watched, even from the first step. There are common reports of soft footsteps that don't echo. They stay behind you. They never rush. Some people hear what sounds like a cart being pushed, its wheels clicking faintly over the old track, even though the path is empty. Others speak of a low groan, somewhere between the wind and a voice. It doesn't come from the front. It always comes from behind, as if the tunnel doesn't want to be walked alone. One person left a voice recorder on the floor of the tunnel for 10 minutes. No one spoke. When they played it back later, there were clear, repeated sounds. Not words exactly, just gentle syllables, like someone trying to speak through thick fabric. Some say they hear weeping. Some say they hear breathing. A small team once placed motion sensors at intervals along the slope. In the darkness, without movement, the lights triggered slowly, one after another, moving upward toward the hospital. They waited. No footsteps followed, just the lights blinking like eyes. Back above ground, the energy changes but does not fade. The hospital carries layers. Each wing holds something unique, and though the most chilling moments come from deeper areas, the upper halls remain active. One of the most striking kinds of encounters happens in open areas, whispers in places where the wind is still. A common report is someone hearing their name, spoken in a low voice, usually from behind. The name is never shouted. It comes gently, like a friend waking you from a dream. Sometimes it comes from a corner of the hallway, sometimes from just over the shoulder. It's not always the visitor's full name. Sometimes it's only part. Sometimes it's something they haven't gone by in years. There have also been frequent mentions of smells that appear without source. The scent of flowers, blooming briefly in a room that holds no vase. A sweet powder like soap once used in patient baths. The faint tang of alcohol wipes near the nurse's station. The smell of baking bread, though the ovens are long since cool. People walk into an empty room and suddenly feel warmth, as if someone just left. The pillow looks undisturbed, but the space around it feels lived in. One person even noted a heartbeat-like rhythm in the wall. Faint, pulsing, soft. It lasted for almost a minute, then vanished. Some of the most personal reports come not from ghost hunters or formal teams, but from quiet visitors who were simply there to see. One woman, alone on the third floor, said she saw a child peek from behind a door. Just for a moment, he had no expression. He simply looked, then stepped back. She called out to him. There was no reply. When she checked the room, it was empty, but the floor had small footprints in dust, leading toward the wall. Another visitor walked past an old mirror still hanging near the stairwell. In the reflection, she saw two nurses walking together, side by side, their uniforms long and white. They looked tired but calm. When she turned, the hallway behind her was empty. There is also the feeling of shared experience, where multiple people see or hear the same thing without discussion. In one case, a group of 4 stood at the edge of the children's ward. All of them heard what sounded like a ball bouncing once, then rolling, though none of them had brought one. A moment later, one person said they saw a small figure dart between 2 doors. No one else saw it, but all 4 heard a tiny laugh, high and quick, like a child playing just out of view. They stayed quiet for a long while afterward. Some investigators have brought devices to measure temperature, light, sound, and energy. Their readings fluctuate in odd patterns. In certain areas, temperatures drop only around the legs, as if something is sitting there. Elsewhere, the EMF meters spike gently, then stop, then spike again, always in a rhythm, always where no wires remain. Even with modern tools, most of what is felt cannot be measured. Presses on the ribs. It leans near the ear. It waits. The most curious stories are the ones that happen after visitors leave. People return home. They sleep in their own beds, but their dreams change. Many report returning to the hospital in sleep, walking the halls in silence, not frightened, just there. They dream of standing still, watching the walls, of waiting near windows that no longer exist. They hear doors creak open. They hear their names. One woman dreamed of a nurse offering her a glass of water. When she reached for it, she woke up, her hand still extended. Others report small things at home. A chair shifted, a book on the floor, a hallway colder than it should be. None of it lasts, none of it harms, simply follows, then fades. Waverly Hills seems to imprint, not with pain, but with memory. It is not a place that shouts. It is not a place that screams. It hums, it lingers, and it does not leave easily. Even now, with its windows broken and its stairwells worn smooth, the building continues to feel full. Some say the spirits are lost. Others say they're simply staying close to what they knew. The rooms were theirs. The halls held their voices, and so they remain. The deeper you walk into Waverly Hills, the quieter it becomes, not just in sound, but in feeling, as though time moves more gently there, as though the walls are not entirely still, but breathing slow and soft. At night, the building leans into silence. The wind slips through broken panes. The trees sway just outside the edges of light, and within, something remains awake. This is not a place that startles. It is not built on fright. It is a place of pause, a place where memory sits in corners and leans against doorways, a place that does not forget. The people who work there now, caretakers, cleaners, guides, are not frightened. They have grown familiar with the space and with what it holds. But even they say it does not feel empty. Not ever. One caretaker spoke of a stretch of hallway on the second floor. He walks it daily. Same steps, same echoes, but some days he feels watched. Not threatened, just noticed, as if something nearby opens one quiet eye and then closes it again. He once heard a woman humming, a low tune, shapeless and slow. When he turned the corner, no one was there, but the air felt warmer and the floor beneath him creaked twice, as if someone else had stepped just behind him. Another worker, responsible for maintenance, told of a bulb that always flickered in room 312. He replaced it several times. Each one did the same. It would blink rhythmically when the room was entered, then go still when left alone. Eventually, he left the bulb as it was. In the nurses' station near the upper floors, soft sounds have been reported at dawn. The shuffle of fabric, the brush of a coat along the doorframe. One guide heard what she described as quiet movement behind her as she locked up at the end of the night. When she turned around, the hallway was empty, but she said it felt as though someone had just stepped aside, giving her room to pass. She said it did not feel unfriendly, only old and tired. Visitors often asked the staff if they've ever seen a ghost. Some say yes, others pause, not because they're unsure, but because what they felt doesn't fit easily into that word. They talk about energy, about warm spots in cold rooms, about scents with no source, flowers, soap, chalk, and earth. They talk about voices that speak too softly to catch, but not softly enough to ignore. They talk about walking into rooms that feel full even when there's no sound and no shape to prove it. There are common reports of people hearing their own names, spoken not loudly but gently, as if someone remembers them, as if someone is trying to remind them of something forgotten. Others have felt a brush on their sleeve, like fabric catching in a breeze. One guest walked through a hallway and felt a hand close gently around her fingers, small, cool, and still. When she looked down, there was nothing there, but her hand stayed warm for the rest of the evening. Some of the most curious encounters happen after people leave. Visitors return home. They unpack. They sleep. But that night or the next, something changes. Dreams come. Soft, whining dreams of corridors and open doorways. Dreams of gentle voices and long, slow footsteps on distant floors. One man said he dreamed of walking beside someone he never saw. He never turned to look. He just walked. But in the dream he felt comfort, familiarity, as if the stranger had known him longer than he'd known himself. Others have felt shadows cross their room at night, too low to be a person, too steady to be a trick of light. These shadows do not frighten. They pass quietly, and then they are gone. Many report a sense of calm that lingers for days, as if Waverly Hills does not haunt them but holds them gently for a time, as if it carries something away from them when they leave. One woman said she cried the morning after visiting, not from fear, just from release. She didn't know why, only that it felt like she had said goodbye to something she hadn't realized was still with her. Waverly Hills is often called haunted, but that word feels too sharp, too sudden. The building is not loud. It is not cruel. It is not a place of screaming walls or angry spirits. It is a place of residue, of breath that never fully left, of echoes that no longer try to speak. The building is full, not with ghosts but with memory. Thousands pass through here, some in pain, some in peace, some in hope. And that weight is still there, layered like dust, thin and nearly invisible, but everywhere. People still see them. Nurses in long white coats, children in nightgowns, men leaning on canes that are no longer there. Some of these figures move. Some stand still. Most do not look at you. They walk with purpose and then they are gone. They do not scream. They do not plead. They simply exist. For a moment. And then they do not. Many come back, not to chase fear, but to feel something, a stillness, a presence, a place where time feels slow and thoughtful, a place that does not lie. They come back for the quiet, for the sense that someone is listening even if they do not speak. They come back for the flicker in the window, for the wait in the stairwell, for the whisper of steps behind them. They come back because something about Waverly Hills feels alive in a way most places do not. And so the building remains, quiet, full, watching. Its bricks are worn, its lights are dim, but it holds on, to its past, to its people, to the footsteps that once passed through its doors, to the ones who stayed, and the ones who return.